Crespo is going to be host for Let's Talk Football, the round table. And Let's Talk Football ladies.
Hello, everybody. Delilah Crespo here with another episode of Diversity with Delilah. Hey, I haven't forgotten about y'all. It is still February, which means it is still Black History Month in the United States. And so, as I've said, go out there. There's so many resources for you to dip your toes into, discover more of the influence and culture of Black Americans in the United States. So, again, still going on. Go ahead and dive in. So, today, I am going to talk to you about Mr. Warren Moon, Hall of Fame quarterback, most known for playing for the Houston Oilers. As we know, Houston Oilers became the Tennessee Titans. Or maybe you didn't know. The Houston Oilers, that was a big controversy when it happened because people, no one likes losing their teams. But anyways, they were moved to Tennessee and they're now the Tennessee Titans. But now Houston has another team, right? Houston Texans. I digress. Let's go into Warren Moon. He was born and raised in LA, California. When he was young, he lost his father at a young age. His mother, Pat, was a nurse. And Warren learned to cook, sew, iron, housekeep, take care of his family. So early on, he decided that because of that, he had to focus on one sport in high school. He couldn't do all this other stuff because he needed time, to help his family. So he decided he was going to focus on football and not just any position, quarterback. He found that he was able to throw harder, straighter than a lot of people he knew. So he was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on football, and I am going to focus and hone in on the quarterback position. He enrolled at Alexander Hamilton High School using an address from one of his mother's friends to gain an advantage at a better high school because his local high school in his neighborhood wasn't that great. And he was, you know what? I'm going to make sure I don't lose my shot because of that. And so he ended up at this better high school that had a better athletic and academic reputation. And so that's kind of where he went. Again, smart guy. He's like, you know what? I got to take care of my family. That means I need to make sure I have a good education. And on top of that, if I'm going to follow sports, I need to make sure it's a high school with a good athletic reputation. Moon had little playing time until his junior year, but that's when he became the varsity starting quarterback in his senior season in 1973. The football team reached the city playoffs, and Moon was named to the all-city team. Moon attended a 2-year college to begin with. First, he was at West Los Angeles and was a record-setting quarterback his freshman year in 74, but only had a handful of 4-year colleges that actually were interested in him. Offensive coordinator Dick Cesniak of the University of Washington in Seattle was actually eager to sign him because he noticed his rifle arm, and he's like, we need this guy. So he was the one that went and checked out Moon and was like, we could use him over here. Under the head coach at the time, Don James, Washington was 11-11 in Moon's first 2 seasons as a starter. But as a senior in 1977, he led the Huskies to the Pac-8 title and a 27-20 upset win in the Rose Bowl over Michigan. Moon was named the game's MVP, and on the strength of 2 short touchdown runs and a third quarter 28 touchdown pass to wide receiver Robert Spider Gaines. So that's why he was named MVP. And so even though he had success with the Huskies, all these scouts and stuff and people were telling him that even though he played that well, he won, right, the championship at, the Rose Bowl. They didn't think it was enough, and that he would either be a late round pick or go undrafted. Again, remember, Moon really went into football in consideration of his family, right? He was helping his family, helping his mother. Again, his father died when Moon was very young, and he wanted to make sure his family was stable. His mother was taken care of, right? He did not want to risk the NFL draft. And so instead, he skipped that and signed with the Edmonton Eskimos. He and Tom Wilkinson shared signal calling duties from 78 to 81, winning 4 consecutive Grey Cups during that time together. So let's go to his CFL career, his Canadian Football League career. Moon became Edmonton's #1 quarterback midway through the 1980 season. That year, the team won their 3rd consecutive Grey Cup, and Moon won his first Grey Cup and Offensive MVP award as Edmonton defeated Hamilton 48-10. Again, these are all like kind of Canadian towns and stuff. So he played really well in the CFL. Okay. In 1982, Moon became the first professional QB to pass for 5,000 yards in a season by reaching exactly 5,000 yards. Edmonton would recover from a so-so start in the regular season, 3-5, but then they went into first place and won the West Division with an 11-5. For the 6th consecutive season, the team qualified for the Grey Cup for the 6th consecutive season and won the Grey Cup for the 5th consecutive year. Moon was named the Grey Cup Offensive MVP for the 2nd time in his career in the CFL. In his 6 years in the CFL, Moon amassed 1,369 completions on 2,382 attempts with a 57.4 completion average, which is crazy if you think about it, for 21,228 yards and 144 touchdown passes. This is in the CFL. I don't care if you don't take that league seriously. To me, these numbers are impressive, and they should be. It's a football league. He also led his team to victory in 9 of 10 postseason games. So this is where you have where he gained his professional experience before he came to the NFL. Okay, Moon's decision to enter the NFL touched off a bidding war for his services because, again, he was killing in the CFL, and they're like, we need this guy. And the team that won was the then Houston Oilers, led by, at the time, Hugh Campbell, his head coach for the first 5 seasons in Edmonton. So that's where they were reunited, right? Like, played under this guy. But he wasn't there very long because the team didn't do well. Not because of Moon, just the team didn't do well. So even though he started off with his coach from the CFL, the coach that actually took them to a lot of wins was Jerry Glanville. Glanville found ways to use Moon's strong arm, because he was known for a strong arm. And in 86, the team began having success. There was a strike, as we know, during the 87 season. But again, the Oilers still posted a 9-6 record, their first winning season since 1980. In his first postseason game in the NFL, Moon passed for 237 yards and a touchdown in the Oilers' 23-20 overtime win over the Seattle Seahawks in the wildcard round of the playoffs. Prior to the 1989 season, Moon had signed a 5-year, $10 million contract extension, which at the time made him the highest paid player in the NFL at the time. It's crazy when we think about these numbers. Now we're looking at like $100 million deals, 30, it's just the way the quarterback position. Anyway, just at the point, that was a huge, deal. Now, I don't think even like a regular quarterback would, you know what I mean, would accept the $10 million. But here we are. So in 1990, Moon led the league with 4,689 passing yards. He also led the league in attempts, 584, in completions, 362, and touchdowns, 33. He tied Dan Marino's record with 9 300-yard games in a season. That included throwing 527 yards against the Kansas City Chiefs on December 16, 1990, the second most passing yards ever in a single game. In 91, he led the league in passing yards again with 4,690. At the time, he joined Marino and Dan Foots as the only quarterbacks to post back-to-back 4,000-yard seasons. Moon also established new NFL records that season with 655 attempts and 404 completions. In the 1992 regular season, he only played 11 games because he was suffering different injuries. But despite that, the Oilers still managed to have a 10-6 record, including a victory over the Buffalo Bills in the final game of the season. This leads to the infamous comeback game There's been a few of those in the NFL, right? So the Bills and the Oilers meet again in the AFC Championship. Everyone thought, like we always think, right? Again, just football, that this was going to be the Oilers' chance to move to the Super Bowl. I mean, it was just Moon had 222 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half. Houston built up a 28-3 halftime lead and increased it to 35-3 when Buffalo quarterback at the time, Frank Wright, was intercepted. And it was returned for a touchdown. So everybody was like, oh, this is the Oilers. Well, here we go. The Bills started back with 5 unanswered second half touchdowns to take a 38-35 lead. With time running out in the final period, Moon managed to lead the Oilers on a last-second field goal drive to tie the game and force overtime. But Moon did throw an interception at, in the OT, which set up Buffalo kicker at the time, Steve Christie's game-winning field goal. The game was known as the comeback game, and at the time, it was the largest comeback victory in NFL history. This now belongs to the Minnesota Vikings, right? We all know, or if you don't, in 2022, the Minnesota Vikings came back against the Indianapolis Colts. The Vikings overcame a 33-0 deficit in the third quarter to beat the Colts 36 in overtime. So that is now the largest comeback deficit in NFL history. It used to belong to this game, but now it belongs to the Vikings and Colts game because it was 33-0, right? Okay. In 93, the Oilers began really badly, 1-4, but then went 12-4 and won the AFC Central Division crown. But they lost to Joe Montana and the Kansas City Chiefs 28-20 in the divisional rounds of the playoffs. Moon set a franchise record for Houston 4 wins with 70, which stood until Steve McNair broke it in 2004, but that was long after the team became the Tennessee Titans. So it wasn't broken when they were the Houston Oilers. Moon also left the Oilers as the franchise leader in passing touchdowns, passing yards, pass attempts, and pass completions, which all stand today. So I guess we'll see who the next man up for the Tennessee Titans that could come close and break some of these records. But right now, they stand. So no current Tennessee Titans quarterback has broken Moon's records. Warren Moon retired from the NFL 2000. At that time, he was the backup quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. Combining his NFL and CFL stats, Moon's numbers are nearly unmatched in professional football, with 5,357 completions in 9,205 attempts for 70,553 yards and 435 touchdowns. Even discounting the CFL statistics, his NFL career is insanely exceptional, with 3,988 completions for 49,325 yards, 291 touchdown passes, 1,736 yards rushing, and 22 rushing touchdowns because he was a rushing quarterback. It wasn't mentioned often, but yeah, he also was mobile. Moon was in the top 5 all-time when he retired for passing yards, passing touchdowns, pass attempts, and pass completions. Moon was named to 9 Pro Bowls from 1988 through 95, and then again in 97. He was inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 2001, and also to the Eskimos Wall of Honor, the team he played for, also in 2001. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2006. It was his first year of eligibility, and he was inducted. He became the first African-American quarterback to be honored to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's also the first Canadian Football Hall of Fame player that also made it into the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's also the first undrafted quarterback to make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A lot of firsts for Mr. Warren Moon. The Tennessee Titans retired Moon's number jersey, which he wore number 1, at halftime on October 1st, 2006, so right after he was inducted. He said, I started wearing number 1 in college because I always wanted to be the number 1 guy. I always wanted to remind my teammates that I'm the man who can get it done. And that's Mr. Warren Moon to you. Impressive professional football career. So there you have it, Mr. Warren Moon. I hope you learned a lot today. Until next time, have a wonderful day or night whenever you watch this.
Yeah.